Hello, welcome to the SEO Wolf podcast. Today is a podcast about handling your sales manager or maybe a sales team leader, or whenever you're working in a situation where you have to answer to the superior about lack of maybe say leads generated or anything like that. So this is something a lot of people won't. Your team leader is not definitely not going to teach you how to handle him during when you're not making a call, making some sales or those kind of things. So this is something that might not been talked about that much because I don't know. Maybe they think that why should we teach them how to handle this. They should be just be taught how to make the calls and just get the sales instead of this. But I think this is also a vital part of how it should be handled. So here I go. First things first. May No matter how the situation bad goes, you should not get angry or lose your cool at whatever is said or what is done, because a lot of times the sales managers or your team leaders will try to provoke you, and it does work on certain people. Some sales people do get motivated when they are provoked, or maybe if they think they're sometimes if they're lazy or something, they do it does those kind of things. They do tend to help. They might have seen previous results, or they might have seen their previous bosses do it, so they also do it. So do not get angry to that person, because a lot of times this is kind of their job profile to make sure to get the results. So first recognize whether the difference between this whatever the sales manager or sales your team leader says, whether it is personal or it is professional. So it is kind of their job to go out and open, and maybe if it's a meeting, so ask you how many sales you've done, or how many why have you haven't done, or those kind of things. It is part of the job to ask them. Sometimes people get like a lot of times as people are new, they ask why is he asking me so much, why is he pestering me so much, what I've done. Doesn't he see how much hard work I've been doing, how much work I've put into this company, and how much extra hours I do, and those kind of how many experience I have, all those kind of things. But I think end of the day, you should take it as a new slate. That is one part. It's part of them, the job profile to maybe think, and it might that might be something that they saw the other managers do it. It does not necessarily mean that it is effective or something. So, but you have to first understand where they are coming from. What is the reason why you hear all these things in the first place? So instead of first getting mad at the person or those kind of situations, to first understand where that person is coming through with this. So that is the first point. Second, you should first you must what they need in this is a certain kind of behaviors at the end that they think that they need to get an outcome of the situation. So they might ask you, okay, how many sales are you going to do at the end of the month, at the end of the day, at the end of the week? What is the number? And even they know that you're not kind of some kind of magician or some kind of future forecaster to tell them that at the end of the day I will make 3 sales and 2 follow-ups or those kind of things. It is usually not possible to find out. Maybe if you have a follow-up, you could maybe say that okay, I have 5 follow-ups. Even if 3 of them get through, I might make this much sales, but a lot of times you honestly don't have an answer. But what they need from you is you are motivated enough and you're positive enough that you think in your mind that you can do perform the task, or you do have a pipeline build up, follow-ups build up, and you haven't lost motivation, and you are sure in yourself, and you have to. It's kind of like just like you handle your customers, you have to treat handling them, your team leader or sales manager, the same way. You have to give them assurance. You have to demonstrate a certain level of responsibility, that you feel that they will be taken care of in the sense that if they need a certain number of sales numbers, that mean that you will take responsibility and do whatever you can in your power to do that, and you are listening to their request with responsibility, and you will make sure that this whatever he's saying, you will personally try your level best to make sure it does get done. So this is more important than any other numbers or those kind of things that you can give. You have to assure them that this can be done, and you cannot fake it also, because you can also do it, not overdo it, because you cannot not make sales, and every month or every week you can assure them that this is a temporary situation, this we will get past through this, and there will be a better future, and we will be getting better sales at the end of the month or end of the week or the end of the day. This will be better. So you have to reassure them that this is a thing, and just like a customer, when they're buying, they want to be reassured that maybe this thing will not break, or your service will be given for when they need it. You have to also reassure your team leader or sales manager the same way that whatever he product or whatever he's invested into the team, he will be getting something out of it. You have to reassure them that he made a good decision hiring you and trusting you. So that's the thing. You have to be respectful for that. And the second thing is, a lot of times in the sales meetings, or maybe sales calls, which are like kind of a meetings, a lot of people, they lose control and don't respect the boundaries of the sales uh, team, sales members or something, and they try, and sometimes they get personal and those kind of things. But I think you have to first aspect of it is, if you're a good salesperson, uh, you on yourself know that if something is false, you yourself know that you have this certain kind of skill, you have certain kind of experience or whatever that you have done in the past. And this might be not so easy when you're just starting out, so that is, but you should have an internal belief that whatever you're saying or whatever you are not the person, or if someone says something bad about you, that does not affect you personally, because you know who you are, you and your identity. You know, if you are a certain kind of person, you know that if someone is saying bad about you, does not mean that you are bad. Maybe if it is in front of 10 people, or maybe he just corners you and says on his own, that should not affect you, your sense of identity, that this something is wrong with you. And if you are sure about yourself, nothing anyone else can say or do should not change your identity, that this is something bad I want. And you have to realize that this is also kind of part of the job, that as customer service people have to hear what are the things that the customers say, just like that. Because salespeople also, they're still kind of doing a customer service in the end, but not realizing they're doing it, but handling their team leaders and sales managers. It's just kind of like customer service experience. You have to, it's part of the job. It's a little ugly, but you have to do it as a part of the job. You have to hear some people, sometimes they get frustrated, or sometimes they are not as calm as they should have been, or they have some certain kind of uncertainty that is there, and they're trying to get rid of it. And not every company provides people with therapists and those kind of things, or maybe relaxing, what you say, mental health, or those kind of things. That has not been the case. So a lot of times you end up at the end where you have to hear what is going on, and you have to kind of listen. But that does not mean that you have to hear it forever. I do not recommend you not being spineless or anything like that. What I was saying is maybe you can always change your jobs if that person is very bad. You always have the option to change. If you're a good person, you will always have offers lined up, people calling you. So you have to recognize that you don't have to always work for a bad person. But as a professional, who as a professional where I'm telling you so that you don't get up in situations where you just punch your boss and get fired, or punch your coworker or something and say something bad and get yourself fired. Those kind of things don't happen. That is why I made this podcast for you. So first thing first, instead of if you're in a bad situation where you're getting being said things a lot, things first recognize that you have options to change, and you also have options to go to a different place and maybe different work environment, and you can always choose what kind of bosses you have, because you don't have to stay everywhere permanently. You can always go to a place where people are better, and this kind of, maybe within the team you can work for a different department and those kind of things. And even if it does not make as much money as there, but I think at the end of the day, if you're happy with the peace of mind that is there in your environment, that you might end up making more money in the long run by staying there longer, or not spending money on maybe the cigarette breaks, cigarettes, and alcohol, and maybe food that you might eat under stress of having a bad boss and those kind of things. So that also matters. And but it should not be something that every time you come in a bad sales meeting or those kind of things, you cannot change your job every 6 months or every 3 months, because this is something that is inevitable, and you're going to get people like that. So now I'll also tell you how to handle the situations, and what is required of you while you're taking those kind of meetings, when you're in the meeting, or those kind of sales calls. First thing first, you have to be, or what I will tell you is, do not be reactive. Be non-reactive. Let them say what they're saying, whether it is bad or good, whatever. You hear it peacefully. You hear. Do not react that much, whether it's an appreciation or whether it is kind of saying something that is bad. You respectfully just hear it as it is, like you would hear from a customer. Do not get too much invested in what is being said. Listen to it carefully for what it is, and because it might be said for a certain reason. Because a lot of times those meetings and those kind of things, if this sales manager or team leader has spent enough time, or has been for a long time, they know what they're doing, and they have been rehearsed a lot of times. They have done that several times. They know what kind of reaction they are seeking and what reaction they'll be getting. So you have to recognize for what it is, and first just listen it carefully, and hear what is trying to being done, trying to what they're trying to do. So listen carefully that this is the case. And second, whether it is when there's something that there's a genuine concern that is there, handle it like a genuine concern. If there's something where something bad has been done by your team or your behalf or those kind of things, you should just like a customer's call, you should maybe, if there's something that needs an apology, apologize immediately and get it over with. And maybe if there's something that they require, that some kind of assurance that people are being late, or some kind of things where they need some kind of assurance from you or your team that this is things, people are being late, assure them that this kind of behaviors will not happen again, or those, so this kind of things. This is something that is in your control, this can be done. And this is not something, if there are genuine issues, this is something that you should take it as a you should take responsibility, even if it is said in a not so good manner. You should be attentive to that and take care of that. Second, interruption. A lot of times sales managers do get interrupted by the people that have their own kind of issues, that it's maybe it's a genuine issue, but that might be not relevant to what they're speaking about that time. And a lot of times it if the sales manager or team leader is not that experienced or something, it might lead all the conversation to it might change the conversation because somebody asks something that is different and there's there. But a lot of times it will not be the case. Your sales manager, team leader does know what the other person is doing, or what will happen because of what they're doing. So immediately they'll snap back and tell that person to do not interrupt, or give an answer that maybe not be suitable, or that would not be what would the answer be if the person would have asked it nicely at the end of the meeting, or separately would have gone and asked. So you're not, even if you're the one who's asking those kind of questions, you're not going to get a suitable reply at that time. So yeah, so do not try to change the topic, and you can try to change the topic, but you have to be not you don't have to do it like the one that I've told you before, because they do recognize, they've been through 50 of those every month, or maybe any year they go through a lot of this, so they are used to what happens during this. So do not try all these techniques with them if there's someone who's experienced, so just that go through. Second, when somebody is maybe a lot of times they get personal, or they say things that are bad, they're trying to see your reaction of how you'll be reacting to it. Maybe someone gets angry, maybe there's some people even start crying, or they get demotivated or something. But it is, you should not react to those kind of things if it is something personal, or trying to get an emotional reaction. It should also not be other way around, that they're saying something about different and you're laughing, or you're smiling about something that might piss them off. But thing is, as long as you listen to it and not take it personally, a person who does keep doing all that, at the end of the day they'll look bad, saying all those bad things, and you're not saying anything. For they can do it for 1 minute, 2 minutes. After maybe a few times in the whole group environment or something, they'll just start looking like an asshole to just say certain bad things to one person over the time. So, or maybe they might get tired if it is something that is not relevant, it is there. So do not react to those kind of things. Okay, next thing is, do not even if there is things that sometimes there can be a kind of be a loose environment in the sense that they're all cheerful and happy and those kind of things. Maybe they are laughing and giggling and all, and maybe making fun of each other and those kind of situation. But you have to make sure those kind of situation you don't cross a line or not say something that you wouldn't normally say to them, because you think that everyone is joking in that environment and making fun of each other. But if you do make fun of the team leader manager those times, a lot of times they will take to heart, and it can be sometimes some people don't mind, but you never know who's going to get take it personally. So avoid those kind of things, because those kind of jokes, they might get you a laugh, but over time people do remember those kind of things. So just avoid those and stay professional at all times, and that's all. And that's all. Avoid them if possible. Some kind times it is better to a lot of times they are not necessary. So if you can, generally, if there's a general issue and you can avoid them sometimes, you can, because you a lot of things times what is said in those hour long meetings or 45 30 minutes long meeting can be summed up in 2 or 3 sentences, or it's just an email that is there. And sometimes also a lot of times sales leaders or managers try to use it as an ego boosting session, or some kind of sometimes the corporate managers they use it to get an ego boost, or it distracts them from what they actually should be doing in the first place of working. So a lot of times meetings, they do consume a lot of time. It's kind of a social thing also sometimes for some people. So keep that in mind. So when you're in the next sales meeting, so recognize it for what it is, and that's all. And don't keep it simple, keep it light. Don't if you're someone who's taking the meetings, do not go about. And if you're making criticism, try to make criticism in private, one-on-one with someone, instead of the whole group, because it does hurt the egos of certain people. Some people, they've heard a lot of things, so they don't mind whatever you say, whether it's said in front of 100 people or with 10 people or 2 people. But if you want to keep it professional, and if you want to keep in isolation with the person, and you have to say the hard things, try to keep criticisms or those kind of things in private instead of that, and appreciation in public. So that is kind of maybe the first or second chapter in How to Influence and Influence People, one of the basic books in this Dale Carnegie. But oftentimes you hardly see that anyone ever does it. So that is the thing. And same goes for if you're handling your sales manager. If you have to do any criticism or any kind of thing, you have to point out something wrong that is happening, do try to do it in person or privately. Don't embarrass your sales manager or your team leaders in front of the crowd or in front of those kind of things. Maybe a situation that is happening, however bad it is, try to keep it private and maybe professional instead of publicly, until it really is something you have made sure that this is something that requires. But most of the times it can be done personally, one-on-one. You can speak to them and you'll get a better resolution if there's certain things that are affecting the way you're working, or sometimes there's something that you need to point out. But try to keep all this in private, and be respectful and courteous at that time, and during that meeting, whatever is being said, listen to it how you would hear a customer speak. A lot of times people will hear a lot of shit from customers, but from their old team leaders or their managers or their because who are maybe senior to them, they don't have the same kind of patience, or they don't treat them a little similarly. And of course, they are two different people, but when it goes to courtesy and diplomacy, sometimes it is better that we give the same level of respect to them, because at the end of the day they are also kind of our customers in this the sense that they might help with the administration part of the company, or they might help with maybe if it's the quality person, they might help with those kind of parts of the company. At the end of the day, they are also, you could say, an internal customer. So treat them like that, and don't take it personally. And at the end of the day, if there's something that is severe, and nobody is going to, most of the time nobody is going to hit you personally, hit you or abuse you, because those kind of things, they happen, they directly, there's a solution for it. It can be reported to the HR, or whoever is there, maybe the manager, or maybe if it is a case of assault or something, there's always police and those kind of things. But those situations rarely ever happen, and so don't take it to heart. And that's all. Thank you for listening to the SR Wolf podcast. With Harvan, have a nice day.